Welcome back. You're watching News X. My name is Vineet Malhotra. The NEET undergraduation paper leak probe has now exposed a highly secretive operation allegedly run by accused kingpin P.V. Kulkarni. According to the CBI, Kulkarni, a chemistry lecturer linked to the National Testing Agency's exam process, used old-school methods to avoid leaving any digital trail. Investigators say that Kulkarni conducted covert coaching sessions at his Pune residence during the last week of April. Students were allegedly handpicked and brought in through middlemen. Instead of WhatsApp messages or PDFs, Kulkarni reportedly dictated questions, options and answers orally, with students writing everything down by hand in notebooks. Those handwritten notes later matched the actual NEET UG 2026 paper almost exactly, folks. The racket allegedly earned lakhs of rupees from desperate aspirants. The probe has now spread across Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Haryana and Bihar, with the CBI investigating links between coaching institutes, middlemen and possible insiders in the exam system. So far, multiple arrests have been made, with another key mastermind, Manisha Gurunath, being arrested by the CBI. What makes this case shocking is, of course, the method. No screenshots, no leaked PDFs, no Telegram groups, just secret classes, handwritten notes and a carefully hidden network. Let's in fact take you through the modus operandi of this carefully managed network, and then of course we'll get to talk to our guests and get their perspective on what this means for this examination at large. So how did this paper leak transpire? What was the MO, the modus operandi? Well, the NEET paper leak operation began in the final week of April, as has been assessed and confirmed by sources at the CBI. Accused kingpin P.V. Kulkarni worked with another accused, Manisha Gurunath Mandhare, and they were both together working the details out of this leak. P.V. Kulkarni, retired chemistry teacher, Pune, served on NEET question paper panel. Manisha, a senior botany teacher from Pune and NTA expert, had access to botany and zoology papers. So they took advantage of the proximity to this paper. Two accused who gathered students through carefully planned systems. They made sure that nobody got to know about what was going on. Like I said, there was no digital trail. Kulkarni allegedly conducted special coaching classes from Pune residents. And that's where, in fact, the leak as well as the dissemination of these answers and questions began. Older engineering students used as agents, I beg your pardon, to identify and contact potential candidates. These agents kept everything close to their chest and went about inviting students to be a part of this scam. Wealthy families were asked to pay several lakh rupees. Transactions ranged from rupees 25,000 to 25 lakhs, folks. Now, this is the kind of money that was pouring in as a result of this scam. Students allegedly asked to write down questions, multiple choice options and answers as well, all a part of that elaborate setup to dupe the system. The CBI recovered notebooks with handwritten material matching NEET UG 2026 chemistry section. As I said earlier on, the handwritten notes were an exact match of what was found in the actual paper. No printed material or digital trail to avoid suspicion. So obviously they were familiar with the system and they used the loopholes to their advantage. Similar patterns were followed by Manisha. She dictated botany and zoology questions to students as well. So once again, a very carefully cooperated method of basically telling students what to expect and make money off of them. This is of course inconvenienced a lot of students. There have been a couple of suicides as well. And of course, the system in itself is craving for an overhaul, something that the Education Minister, Mr. Pradhan, has already said is likely to change from next year. But we'll continue to talk about this and get some perspective on what various thought leaders and specialists feel about this phenomena, if we can call it that. Mr. Vinesh Menon, educationist and former CEO of Arise, joins us on the show. Mr. Deepak Kashyap, counseling psychologist and a doctor, also with us on the program. Ashish Bansal, director of Sarvam Career Institute, is with us on the program. Dr. P.S. Venkatesh Rao, a senior doctor from Bangalore, a regular on my show, is also with us on the program. And last but by no means the least, Mr. Ashwini Dubey, senior Supreme Court advocate, also joins us on the program. Ashwini, I will begin with you. Well, first of all, weigh in for me and for us. What is, the legal fallout of this paper leak? Obviously, these people are responsible for the fraudulent activities. But in a sense, as per the prism of the law, Ashwini, whose fault is it? The government? Is it the government that's going to take the fall for this?
Vineet bhai, very bluntly, I would answer yes. Why? It's the responsibility of first and last responsibility of the government, because the pioneer project of the government. In order to bring uniformity in this professional examinations, government brought this. And it's not happened first time. Last year too, we have debated number of occasions. Somebody's examination center, he's from Tamil Nadu and going to give exam in Sholapur. Somebody is from Maharashtra going to give examination in somewhere in other parts of the Uttarakhand. So these were the systematic attacks again. Despite that, not making an adequate arrangements from paper leaks, and that to millions of students who are participating in the examination and playing with their career, is of course an attack on the future of the students, and it's a government sponsored projects. Paper leak, Vineet bhai, in legal terms falls within the category of unfair means, which is defined under the Public Examination Prevention of Unfair Means Act. But that remains only in paper. Section 3 of the Act expressly includes the unauthorized leakage of question papers or answer keys as a specific form of unfair means in the conduct of public examination. But ultimately, who will held responsible? Government is not taking any responsibility. And Vineet bhai, you remember Dharmendra Pradhan, who is the education minister, not once, not twice, thrice he failed. Even in UGC also, you see the way there was a roar throughout the country. Are they not responsible for the...
Ashwini, the opposition is asking for his head. They want him to turn in the pink slip. They want him to resign.
Of course they should resign, Vijay bhai. As a citizen of this country, I too demand his resignation. Because of him, you see, the educational system is a place of uniformity. We go to school and colleges, and beneath bhai, we wear same kind of uniform to bring uniformity. Bringing, say, first the UGC, the draconian UGC discrimination law, bringing two sets of students and making them, making the equity committee, and the uniformity was tarnished. The sole criteria of the constitution was tarnished by bringing this UGC law. Now, second, this paper leak, playing with the future of the students. And such students typically involved, see, those preparators, what action has taken in 2 years back, what has happened to that? Misconduct.
So what you're saying, in a sense, Ashwini, is that this is something which is obviously going to get spiked up because of the nature of this leak and the parties involved, but it's only a matter of time, Vinesh Menon, that this is going to die down. In your experience, Vinesh, your far and wide experience in the education ecosystem, what kind of a blot is this? We are in 2026, Vinesh, where AI is being used to count calories and do everything for you. Why are we failing? Why are we still using these conservative modes which have such big and consequential loopholes?
Yeah, Vineet, good evening. At the cost of repetition, I must always start by saying that I'm really my deepest sympathy for the students. Lakhs of young people, NEET is not just an examination, represents years of aspiration and hard work. And therefore, I think the biggest casualty in this entire space has been the students. We should never forget that. Students must be at the center of this entire issue, notwithstanding all the investigation concerns, political issues, and who's responsible. Now, as you rightly said, it's definitely a blot. And you did talk about AI. I've always again maintained this, that AI has, let's call it technology, not necessarily AI, but technology. Technology has almost entered multiple sectors. Perhaps the only sector it is yet to enter and start really adding solid value is education. And that is an area which one might want to look at. I do remember the Honorable Education Minister, Mr. Pradhan, mentioning that going forward, I think he's going to move from the paper-based system into the computer-based system. So currently it is OMR, which is optical mark recognition. And I think they're moving into the computer-based system. I'm hoping that that could be possibly a solution in the right direction, although I wish it had come earlier. I mean, look at it. We're talking about 22 lakh students writing exams across the country at one particular time in one shift. And that means if you really look at it from a preparatory point of view, we're talking about the number of papers going from one place to the other, transportation, printing, leaks in any of this entire flow, this flow channel can something go wrong. The leak can easily happen, and that is what we need to prevent. And the only way to do it is to really drive digitization and bring a certain digital trail, and get it completely foolproof from a physical process perspective. So clearly, yeah, it's a blot, no doubt. But the point is, can we look forward and figure out how to solve this? Because every year we're going to have 22 to 25 lakh students going to be applying for hardly 1.5 lakh seats, 1.4 lakh seats. And clearly, and you mentioned about the amount of money that people are paying in order to get coached.
Correct.
I was just doing a mental math. Just 2 million into, even if they pay 1 lakh rupees, we're talking about a $200 billion industry here, if not corrected. So it's obviously a very lucrative space for the wrongdoers, and it has to be just brought down.
You're quite right. Deepak, coming to you, I earlier said that there were 2 students who committed suicide. They're not 2, there are 4 students who have committed suicide in the last few days as a result of this NEET leak. Of course, most of these students come from aspirational families, from low-income families. Some of them also suffer through severe financial hardships. Some of them sell properties, some of them take loan, and there is obviously this re-examination uncertainty which also cripples their thinking. What would you like to say at this point in time, to these students who, for no fault of theirs, Deepak, are being subjected to this torment?
Right. I think we need to understand one really important thing is that this is a moral injury. This is not a wound that has come from loss, but from betrayal. So this sort of emotional wound does not just lead to frustration and anger, it leads to disorientation. Whom do I trust? Where do I go? Why will it not happen again? What's the guarantee? So, students, I mean, most of them are young, right? So they are not meant to have all the emotional wherewithal to deal with this. And on top of that, famously, Indian parents are not equipped to deal with emotions themselves. Indian parents are far more dramatic than the students themselves. So it's like it's blind leading blind that way. So when you face a crisis like this, what you really need for students to understand is that identify what's in your hand and what's not in your hand. What's in your hand right now is first, and this might sound very, very repetitive, but feel your feelings. It's okay for you to feel angry. It's okay for you to feel betrayed. You are not meant to feel positive. Please do not force yourself to feel something which is not warranted by the situation. Having said that, I would say go back to setting a routine which doesn't just involve studying harder. Set a routine that has eating in it, sleeping on time, exercising, socializing, talking to someone. Remember that there's only one silver lining here, is that this has happened to a lot of people, not just to you. So that solidarity is psychologically protective. I'm not saying that it having happened to a lot of people is a good thing. No, that's not. But because COVID happened not just to a couple of people, but to a lot of people, your brain doesn't just think, why was I the only one chosen? So, talk to people, separate what is in your control and what's not. Currently, changing the system is not in your control. What is in your control is taking care of your own mental health, taking care of your routine, and just remember, the mind regulates better when the body has a rhythm. So create that rhythm again, if you can, with food, with socializing, with exercising. But we also have to remember the psychological impact of this is profound, and the mind, robbed of its gold, does not know where to turn to. So the students may be feeling a bit hollow one moment and explosively angry in the next moment, but these responses are entirely normal. both deserve to be taken seriously. And one shouldn't think that just because I'm feeling angry right now or sad right now and disorientation, somehow it's my fault. All I want to say to students looking directly into their eyes is, it is not your fault. I will repeat this one more time. This is not your fault. Aapki galti nahi hai.
You're quite right about that. Dr. Rao, academic stress in medical entrance exam has historically been, a very critical issue. In June 2025, there was a study published by Curious which revealed that 73% of all the suicides that happen with NEET aspirants in our country. This is obviously a big problem, and this is something which is associated with the kind of system that we are used to, and the kind, or rather the lack of initiative by state governments and the central government that has led to this problem and these students dying for no fault of theirs.
Good evening, Vineet and panelists and all viewers. See, one, we have created a huge situation of demand and supply mismatch. This is a huge problem. Now, the aspiration of the youngsters is to become doctors, engineers, lawyers, or whatever. But it is in the medical line where there is severe shortage. And this is why this problem is recurring in the NEET thing. When there is a severe disparity, you will both have psychological pressure on the aspirants and you will have corruption. And I have been repeatedly saying that the only way out of this is to create large number of medical seats. Let the colleges compete with each other, because the question often asked is, then you will have a lot of substandard medical colleges. Let them compete. You have large number of law colleges. You have got more engineering seats than the aspirants for it. So you don't have that problem. You may have some psychological pressure on the aspirants for IIT seat. Now, whereas there are many other engineering colleges, and if you have seen the Microsoft chief, the Google chief, they are all Indian engineers. They are not passed out from IIT. So this is something which we have to make public knowledge and get these youngsters to understand that inability to get through this exam is not a failure in life. I have been a professor of surgery, and I used to often tell my students that never go to an exam thinking I have to somehow pass it. I would say that anyway there is another attempt 6 months later. You stress yourself out saying that I have to hook or crook, pass it. You will stress yourself so badly that you will perform extremely badly. The way to do well in exams is to go not to stress yourself about it. And the parents also should not put pressure on students saying that you have to top the exam or you have to do so well that you come into this college or that college, etc. So the parental pressure, the societal pressure, etc. has to come down. Another thing very typical of us Indians is that we take failure badly. This is why a lot of original work and experimentation doesn't occur, because if obviously when you are trying to do something innovative, you may not succeed in the first attempt. We may have succeeded first attempt to orbit the Mars, but it's not that everyone succeeds when you do something new in the first attempt. We in a society have to accept failures as part of the game. And my students used to get very upset with me when I used to tell them, accept failure as a part of the game. You won't be stressed.
You're absolutely right, sir. You have to in fact look at failure as a stepping stone, not a stumbling block, and that's the problem, I guess. Mr. Bansal, the coaching institutes have also come under a lot of scrutiny as a result of this leak. They are also being touted as money-making machines. They build up these huge expectations for students and charge them accordingly. And this entire paradigm of making money through students and having these career centers as business models without the right guidance and repercussions is obviously detrimental to the health of the student as well as the system.
Yeah, Vinit, good evening, and thanks to the NewsX team for having Sarvam Kari institute into discussion. See, Vinit, I have been closely working with the students group for last 22 years, and I have in the coaching field. And there are concerns regarding the coaching involvement in such kind of malpractices. But I would say that I have been teaching thousands of doctors, and they have into the medical career already. But these kind of things, when they do occur, you will not believe that we are the people who face the students, and they are so badly cornered. Means they are in a very bad position. Many of their parents have pledged their lands a complete worth to teach their students. And we are, yes, we are charging say 50,000, 60,000, maybe few institutes are charging 1 lakh of rupees, but still it is very, very difficult for them. And again, with such kind of problem, I don't think there is any way for them to escape. And today the biggest concern is not the individuals like Kulkarni, but it's the entire ecosystem that enables the examination leaks. If one alleged this kingpin can compromise a national level exam, it means the system itself requires urgent reforms. We therefore strongly believe that there should be a computer-based examination as soon as possible. And that should be well encrypted as well, because there are vulnerable points in every type of examinations, and these kingpin type of things will be found everywhere. So if you are actually implementing them carefully with secure servers, biometric verifications, AI-based monitoring, and with all safety protocols, then I think the things can be done in a very good way.
Okay, well, Ashwini, we have run out of time, but just a quick response from you. The keyword here is reforms and policy transformation, but that's by disposition, Ashwini, is a slow process in our country. What is the student supposed to feel until that happens?
See, the restoring trust with the students in public examination requires a balanced approach now. The corrective mechanism, institutional strengthening, and the distrust which has created, that is a problem of which is a concern, which is talked about the fairness and trust in competitive examination. Irrespective of that, it's a serious legal offense against fairness, institutional trust, foundational principles that merit not manipulation. But it must be bring it to the notice that House needs reshuffle, House needs strengthening, and despite that, there is a multi-layer system which talks about that this kind of examinations will be strictly confidential, and there are protocols for question papers. The printing, etc. But despite that, not having the house in order.
You're absolutely right, Ashwini. We have a paucity of time. I'm going to quickly take a comment from Vinesh also before we wrap up, and then Dr. Rao. Vinesh, you put your hand up.
No, I just wanted to, of course, I agree with all the panelists, and Mr. Bansal clearly talked about what I wanted to. While I could be attacked for this, but while we are getting into a bashing mode, we must understand that this is not just an India problem. This has happened across the world. There are other countries which has gone through this. China has gone through this. South Korea, which is one of the biggest countries, and one of the most important testing centers, has gone through this. US has gone through this. UK, but all these countries have started to make corrections. And one of the single most corrective measures that they've taken is to go digital, to have encrypted papers digitally downloaded. And I think we need to go down that path. And my sense is that if we move into the next year's thought process of what the Honorable Minister has said, I sense that it's going to start getting better. Okay. Having said that, condolences to all the students for having going through this pain mentally.
Okay, Dr. Rao, quickly, sir. 10 seconds, sir.
After the Radhakrishnan committee recommendations, many of them were done. But if the question setters are themselves corrupt, then you can have all the encryption, you can have all the security. If the source of the question paper itself is corrupt, you can't help it. So you need to look into who your question paper setters are. Here, both the people are, one for biology and one for chemistry, are the question setters themselves.
You're quite right, sir. Well, we have run out of time. I appreciate you being here, gentlemen. Thank you so much for your perspectives.